Something that's been on my heart a lot lately is the cost to serve. If you think about what we spend as manufacturers to ship the product to you and for you to get it to your customers, there's inefficiencies in the cost to serve that needs to get pulled out. And I think the other side of it is when you get to own your customer. I think at the end of the day, Hellerman Tyton has a whole lot of engineers that go out and work with end users to develop product that they don't even know they need. So it's going beyond the need to understand your customer's business. And the deeper that you can go into that, I think if you look out 5 years, 10 years, I think that's what we'll see more than I would say the transactional piece.
From my perspective, the really successful distributors and the ones that are growing and doing really well are the ones that communicate well. They communicate the vision from the top all the way down. When you talked about Mayor, you go in for an interview and you're meeting with, members of the family who own the business. And I think just sharing the vision from the top down and making sure that everyone in that organization is connected to the vision and understands the purpose, if I can draw on Ben again. But I think the ones that we've been successful with have given us the opportunity to develop a relationship with them and to connect with them on their initiatives and find ways where it's a good match for both of us. And then they've shared that vision up and down their organization. And those are the organizations, I think, many of them ESOPs, that are very successful.
I just want to comment on something Jason said about looking into the future. Steve Jobs once was asked if they needed to do some sort of panel group on one of his new products. And he said, no, these people don't know what they need. They don't know that they need a camera inside their phone. They don't know that they need a the in their hand. So sometimes you just have to look beyond what everyone else is asking and thinking, and just think, what is the next big thing?
One of the terms that I use a lot with my team and everyone talks about the growth. Do you want to grow at market, 2 times market? I always pull from Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs says you want to do something meaningful, all you have to do is add 1 0. And I think that's part of taking and looking up into the future more.
Great. More questions?
Yeah, right here. Victor Lewis with Omni Cable. So I guess this is for each one of you guys on the panel. Big topic of discussion throughout this week has been balancing work-life, your work life and your personal life. So for you guys, what are some of the things that you do to make sure that you're balancing your work life and your personal life, and what kind of advice would you give to those who are progressing into these higher leadership roles to help them make sure that they're balancing, keeping a good balance of their work life and their personal life?
I think we'll just start with Melissa and work our way down this way.
I always say to my team, don't do what I do what I say, and don't do it. So, I would say that this has been something that is evolved throughout my career, work-life balance. Certainly, looking back, did I have a balance? Probably not. I would say now, even more so, just with time and with patience, it's allowed myself to take a hard look at it and say, this all goes way too quick. I would say too that hard work and perseverance, it's going to get noticed, right? You don't have to put in the 60, 70 hours a week. It's going to get noticed. You want to propel your career and you want to move forward, but you know what? It's going to be recognized, because the next day it's going to be there. And you know what? When you leave, if you leave the company's still going to succeed and continue on. So just make sure you take care of yourself first, because if you're not any good to yourself, you're not going to be any good to anybody around you at the company. So that's where I go with it.
That's great advice.
I would say a couple things. One is famous. Someone told me this a long time ago. No one on their deathbed says, "I wish I would work more." Right? So just think about that, and it's true. And I'll say that the balance is key, because I will tell you that it's pretty rare that you find someone who has an unhappy personal life who's successful at work. They might accomplish things, but they're probably not very personable. They're probably not collaborative. They're probably not good with people, because it's hard to turn an unhappy personal life and just put a big smile on when you're at work. So so it's important to have that work-life balance. And the only thing I'd encourage all of you is spend time with family. It's very, you know, you get caught up in the rat race and everything else. And I would say, you know, for those that travel smart. You know, I used to, you know, if I was out 3 days, it'd be 2 nights. You know, people would say, hey, Greg, come on in for dinner. Let's do dinner the night before. I'd say, you know what, I'll take the 6 a.m. flight. See ya. You know, so the more you can manage that, and I think the earlier speaker gave some great advice. Get up a half hour earlier. Get up 45 minutes earlier. Cut out a half hour of Netflix. You know, you do those things and you'll find, you know, extra time for personal and business.
I would, it's interesting you talking about the early flight. I've got a young family. I've got a 7-year-old and 9-year-old. So for them, they only want to know how many nights Daddy's gone. So I take a lot of 6 a.m. flights, which means I'm up at 3 and I'm out of the house at 4 because they know Daddy put them to bed. And I say that I don't do red eyes, but I probably have done the red eye from LA to Indy 5 times this year because that gets me in at 6 in the morning. So they know that Daddy was there when they woke up. So I would say part of that is don't do what I do, but I understand what my kids pay attention to. And the other thing that I started doing about a year ago is we do a quarterly trip. I think when the speaker was talking about focus with the family, and I think Chris brought it up, I found that we travel so hard, we're so distracted that we need to bring the family unity together. So it doesn't have to be an elaborate trip. It could just be a night, you know, downtown Indianapolis. But we do something on purpose with the family every quarter.
So I struggle a lot with work-life balance, and certainly, you know, where I'm at now, I've been there since last November. So, you know, I'm adding salespeople. You know, we're rolling out new products. I'm you know, learning a lot about the lighting business. So I was really focused on learning more about the business, evaluating the team, and you know, I absolutely love what I do, and that's great. But I tend to, my husband's like, where are you? And he goes, are you in your office? No, I'm in the hallway. You know, I'm not in my office, but I really could work a lot. And the problem with that is my team, the folks that work with me, were concerned about me and said, you know, we're concerned that, you know, you're going to burn out, that you work all the time, you're just working too much, and we like you, we want you to stick around. And I just kind of went like, wow, that's really, I'm working too much, from my team, maybe from my husband, but from my team. So I sort of took a step back, and so I've sort of reevaluated the getting up early, working out in the morning, so my team knows, they're not going to get an email from me at 6 o'clock in the morning because now I'm working out. So in order to live a happy life, because work isn't everything, I do love my family, I decided to take time for self-care and to build that into my life and my schedule and let the people that, I work with know, you know what, she's working out because this is when she works out in the morning. And if we need her, we're going to ping her afterwards, because when I'm walking or working out, that's just, I got to shut it down. So I have learned a lot over the last year, really more about self-care and taking care of yourself for the long haul, because work isn't everything. I love it, but it's not everything.
That's great. I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions, and then we want to give you guys each a chance to give maybe kind of a closing thought or statement or piece of advice. So anyone else have a question from the audience?
I think Brock over there does.
Me? Okay. So Melissa, we kind of touched on this when we did the roundtable discussion, and unfortunately we didn't have enough time. So I'd like you to elaborate a little bit more. And Pam, you just touched on this recently too. So what are the things that you do and implement in your life to become a better leader, whether that be podcasts or books or some kind of routine? And what are the qualities that you have seen in the best leaders that you've worked with?
So the first part was
Like a podcast or a book or something
what
that you do?
do I do to? right? So I'm an avid reader. Like, I love to read. So when someone says, "Ooh, this is a really good book," and when I started at Shat-R-Shield, I went into Karen Ponce's office, and she's got a bookshelf, and I'm all, "Ooh, let's trade books," you know. So I'm an avid reader. Like, I really love to do that. I'm always looking for things that are unique or different that I can bring to my team. I try to be a really good listener, and I try to have empathy for folks. I know that, you know, I can say something that to me was just a small little thing, and then, you know, it will come back to me later. You know, what you said to me at that time really helped me. And so, you know, that just like makes my day, my year. If I can help people and develop them, that's the biggest thing for me.
I would say what I do is I do a lot of audiobooks. Honestly, I run. So for me, it's, you know, I'd love to spend the time to read, but the books on my end table, osmosis is not working. So I have to do audiobooks, and running for me is my out. It's my place where I can get a lot of thoughts and corral them, per se. I would say too, you know, anybody that knows me and I surround myself with, I like to laugh and like to have fun. You know what? We're there a lot. And there's times when there's a lot of pressure on all of us. And first and foremost, you know, it's been said a lot and it resonates through and through. You have a choice every day of the attitude that you come with, right? And you know what? You come with the attitude that you want to be there, and you're going to do the best you can do every day, you know, step by step. Faced with a lot of adversity in my career, I will tell you, but you know what? The most important thing I think I've learned throughout all of that is just to handle it with grace. Because you know what? It's not going to, it's not going to break you, and if it does, you know what? You're gonna get out of it, right? So the capability to laugh, the capability to look at it and say, you know what, might not have done the right thing, but I have the capability to learn from it, because I'll be that much stronger when I come out of it. So.
Either of you guys in the middle have anything you want to add? I think we have a question with Brock over there.
The question I wanted to ask is, with all of the acquisitions happening over the last few years and potentially into the next 4 or 5 years, what are the good and bad things you're seeing, or what you see may happen because of all those acquisitions, both on the manufacturer and distributor side?
Kick things off, Greg.
Sure. Well, I was at General Cable for 18 years, and I made a lot of those acquisitions. So there's, you know, there's good and bad that comes from that. I think the bad part is you see cultures kind of lost. You see some of the independent entrepreneurialism lost. The good part is obviously you see efficiencies, right? I mean, you see, you know, companies come together. I can tell you, you know, when we would go out and make an acquisition, we acquired, you know, companies usually half our size or a third of our size, and we'd go walking through their plants and we'd say, wow, that's a great idea. They're doing that well, you know. So you merge these kind of, you know, as long as you're open-minded, right? You merge, you know, a lot of good ideas together, and it becomes a better company for it. And so that's the key in making acquisitions successful. I think it's going to continue to happen. I think it's going to continue to happen on both sides of the fence, the manufacturer and distributor side. And I think the most important thing is to embrace it and try to optimize the good and minimize the bad.
Jason, did you want to comment on that as well?
I don't know that I have a lot to add, although I will tell you that the U.S. model here is completely different than Europe. I think that you're talking about the acquisitions, and you know, somebody may be up 10% market share. If you go look at France, it's probably more 40 and 40. So I would say that means there's going to be a lot more coming.
What about from the distributor point of view? You guys have acquired some companies over the years at DSG. Can you speak on that?
Well, I think you already alluded to the fact that, you know, the culture, right? You mesh it. And I think, you know, just from my experiences, you have to be prepared, right? The M&A process, you have to have a playbook in place, because otherwise it's, you know, you are 2 years, 3 years in, and it's, oh, well, we always used to do it this way, or this is how, you know, that just resonates through and through. And it's not beneficial to anybody, really. You're not united, you're not collaborating, and the best practices then are not shared, and they're not capitalized on. So I would say advantageously, it's obviously it's going to continue to happen as indicated, and I don't see that we're not going to be continuing down that path. But I think you need to be more diligent about it, and from the perspective of what I've seen thus far.
Fantastic. Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll go to a little wrap up here. We'll start with Pam. Just maybe 2 or 3 little pieces of career advice that you can leave us with?
Okay, so I didn't know what we were going to talk about, so I crammed like crazy because I didn't know what we were going to talk about, and I like to be prepared. So these are just my thoughts on strategies to move your career to the next level. Number one, identify your gaps. Put together a network that you can call on. There's people on the Manufacturing Council who, if I have questions, I know I can ask these people anything and in confidence, and they will help me. Understand your gaps. Is it industry knowledge? Is it business knowledge? You don't know everything. None of us does. But if you can, identify those gaps and get sort of a self-awareness of what you're lacking, you can do a 360 with the people that you work with and for, and they can help you see those gaps. I would say do a personal risk assessment. When I moved to Philadelphia for the AD job, I had to physically move in order to have that career opportunity. So it could be going back to school, it could be going to a new city, a new company. Sometimes you have to move on to move up. And I would say there's value in lifelong learning. I think the people who are very successful are people who none of us know it all, and I know that, and so I continue to strive to learn more, and I think that's really, really helped me in my career. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys. It's so exciting to meet you and chat with you, and I'm humbled by the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
I would say I'm humbled as well. I think the other thing, as you're going through this process, number one, understand the investment that your companies are making in you. That says a lot about who you are, what they're doing. I would say enjoy it, learn from it. We have the benefit of playing at a lot of the NADs at the regional and national level. I am very inquisitive, so I like to ask a lot of questions about how do you know this person? It's amazing that people reference yet. I would say most of the people that we talk to, they've known each other from the equivalent of lead for 20 years. And they have the ability to pull from the network, and I would encourage that. I would encourage you to be yourself. One thing that I do, kind of back to what kind of boss you're going to be, I'm the boss that takes the spouse out to dinner because you want to know the family, you want to be yourself, be honest. And I said enjoy it. We have the benefit of traveling to beautiful parts of the country, and you will as well. I would say see those mountains, enjoy it. I mean, take 10 minutes to enjoy what you're doing. And I think this industry is very exciting. I would continue to approach people with that. I mean, if you think about cloud computing, you think about the Internet of Things, you think about what we're doing, and we're on the threshold of things that's going to change the way everything operates. It's pretty exciting.
So again, I would thank everyone for inviting me to participate. It's been a great experience. And I'd give you two bits of advice. So the first, a little bit along the lines of what Jason said, a big investment in your time and in your company's money to send you here. And whenever you do something like this, I'd say take something away from it. So it's very, frankly, it was very intimidating coming up after Ben Newman. I mean, what are we possibly going to say to you after that? But whether Ben Newman connected with you or not, if he connected with you, great. Go take that packet home and do something about it. If he didn't connect with you, go read the top 25 books or top 10 books, and one of them is going to connect. But one of them, go do something. Go enact it. Meaning, don't just come here and go back and say, "Wow, it was a great conference. Heard some things." So, go back and do something about it, and do that whenever you go to a big event. You're not always going to remember everything or take in everything, but try to walk away with 2 or 3 things that you're going to go do. The second thing I'd tell you is try things, and you guys come from all walks of life, IT, sales, finance, what have you. Try different things. You'll learn in the process. You may end up hating the job, but what the heck? 2 years? I mean, 2 years. 2 years isn't going to cost you your life. Try things. Take risks. You can always, as you try to plot your career, people say, here's where I want to go, and I want to go in the straight line. It never happens in a straight line. Be willing to kind of go, keep it moving forward, but be willing to kind of move on diagonals and try different things. The more well-rounded you're going to be, the more you're going to enjoy the journey, and the more successful you're going to be.
I would just say thank you too for having me as part of this panel. Humbled to be a part of this panel with my fellow panel members here. I would say, you know, to go on that risk, right? If I would have never taken a job in the first place, you know, and been there for 15 years and then left a job, scariest thing I've ever done, I would not be here today. And I could have never, ever imagined that I would be in this position right now. But if I wouldn't have taken that risk, I wouldn't have done it. And I would just say stay focused, honestly. Stay laser focused because you never know, you know, what's going to happen. So congrats to all of you for being here. Take that as a high remark to all of your companies believing in you. It's important. And good luck with everything you do.
So as a moderator, I want to thank you guys. Thank you all the panelists for taking the time out of your busy lives and schedules away from your family to be here with us. And thank you guys in the audience for all the great questions. Let's give these guys a round of applause and we'll wrap this up.